Guitar intervals, C major, A minor, and related modes. This time looking at the B Locrian mode, focusing on centering around measuring from the B note located 4th string down from the top of the guitar, fret number 4, and this is part number 2. Remembering one of our major objectives is to orientate all of our resources in the same direction, making them as easy on the eyes as possible from the perspective of the player of the guitar, who is of course located behind the guitar. Therefore, for example, my guitar will look like I'm playing left-handed, but no, we flipped it around so it mirrors the perspective of you from behind your guitar, as though you were watching yourself play like in a mirror, for example. And when we are behind the guitar, we've got the fretboard on our left-hand side, the low or heavy string, one closest to the ceiling on the top of the guitar. Left to right going towards the body of the guitar. Similarly orientated will be our Excel worksheet mocking up or representing the fretboard. This then representing the low or heavy string, the one closest to the ceiling. Top to bottom, left to right orientated, as though we just took our guitar and imprinted the strings on the screen. We're now looking at the intervals for the Locrian mode. Remembering that the Locrian mode is possibly one you don't find a lot of resources out there. Like, people are scared of the Locrian mode because it's crazy. It's a crazy mode, man. And so people are scared to even say its name. It's like Voldemort. They're scared to say its name, but I'm not scared. I've dealt with crazier people even than that Voldemort dude. That guy's threatened to come to my house. I've had crazier people threaten to come after me than that dude. So I talk about the Locrian mode here. That's what I do. And we're gonna go through it just like any other mode, noting that the Locrian mode, although it's not a mode that you commonly build songs in, although you could, it is a mode that you want to know because you want to know the chord constructions from it, because that chord construction note will be in every other mode. So you'd like to say, if I'm building, if I'm looking at any of the modes, major scale, minor scale, Dorian, any of the modes, then you're going to hit that Locrian component where you're going to need to build a chord off it. So at the very least, you want to know it for that reason. So let's go up top and just recap what we're doing here. And we're looking at I'm going to start by comparing everything to the major scale, just as a recap, remembering that we're going to be looking at the C major and related modes. So C major, A minor, and related modes with the familiar position in the middle of the guitar. You might call position 1 or a G-shaped C major position, if you want to call it that, from a caged. That would be the pentatonic. That would be the full 7 notes. Now we're just putting those 7 notes across the entire guitar, and then we're building the shape, remembering that you can learn the guitar by learning the shape and then moving the shape around. You can learn the guitar by learning the formula, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, and so on and so forth, but then alter that formula per note, and then therefore learning the formula from the perspective of each mode, building the same shape but from a different starting point. That to me still seems like the least effective way to kind of visualize the guitar, in part because of the stacked nature of the strings as opposed to the linear nature of a guitar. But maybe that's just me. I haven't spent as much time kind of really working with it in a formula format. So I might do that later so that I can get a better appreciation for it. But now what I do have a good appreciation for, and am building on that appreciation, is the intervals. So, and that's because the intervals will not only help you build the shape so you have the scale anywhere you want to put it, but it makes it easier to see the relationship between the different modes, and it allows you to build chords. Because remember, the idea here, and this is where the Locrian comes into play, is that I want to know the notes in the scale, which I can know by shape, right? Or I can know by formula, or I can know it by the intervals. But beyond that, once I know the notes, I'd like to be able to pick every note, which is just a note in the scale, and build a chord off of it. Now, if I want to build a chord off of it, what are my options to do that? Well, one way I can do that is I can just pick whatever I can reach with my fingers. So, and that's totally legit, right? Like I could say, well, if I put my pointer finger on here, what else can I reach? And anything you reach will be some kind of chord, right? So that's kind of just a trial and error method, totally legit thing to do. But you also might try to go at it in a more formal approach, saying I would like to build the normal triad chord and then add a 7, 9, 11, and 13, and so on and so forth. And so how would I go about doing that? Well, you have to know which notes will fit in the scale that you're playing. And if you're in the major scale, that's why people start learning that you might learn power chords. That's what I did, right? I was in, like there's punk rock. Again, people have a lot of different ideas of what punk rock means, right? I was listening to, like, I don't know, No Effects and stuff that were, but you would think, like when you're in high school before the time of YouTube, that is a lot harder to kind of figure out music theory for just a normal kid, you would think. I think even today that would be kind of the case. So you might convert everything to a power chord because you know that all of these notes you can at least just add a fifth. Not that I was into music in high school. I just listened to music in high school. I didn't really start tinkering with this stuff till after college, really. But so that's why I have possibly a little bit different perspective than people that have learned it the whole time, because I kind of might have put together but anyway, so in any case, so it seems to me that you can build a power chord, and that's safe. That's a safe thing to do because it doesn't have the third. So you can take any of the notes and I can build a power chord, and that would be good if I'm in the major scale, the Dorian, the Phrygian, the Lydian, whatever. There's only one note that I can't build a power chord on, right? And so I have a 6 out of 7 chance that I can at least add the fifth, and I'm cool with that, right? So that's nice. So I can build at least a simple kind of like at least partial chord that way. But then I'd like to add the third because it's got the flavor of a major or a minor. So how would I memorize that? Well, the 1, 4, 5, if I look at it from the perspective of the major scale, are the majors. The 2, 3, and 6 are going to be the minors, and the Locrian is the funny one that still has a minor third, but it's kind of a funny one. So that's great if I play in a major scale, but that becomes difficult if I want to play like in Lydian or Mixolydian or the minor scale, because now all of the notes are different. I can't say the 1, 4, 5 is major. The 1, 4, 5 happens to be minor in a minor scale, but it's going to be in a different position everywhere every time I reorientate all the notes. So what can I do? Well, one way I can do it is I can look at each position and name it, possibly numerically based on the major scale, noting that that's just one mode, but as a reference tool, so I can more easily determine whether I can construct a major or minor chord from each note, no matter what mode I'm in. So that means that I can label these then the modes, and the modes will not only help me to play in the mode, it'll help me to look at the relative position. If I'm in what I would call the second mode, I can also think of that as if I'm in the Dorian mode, I can think of still the first of the Dorian is going to be the Dorian mode, right? That helps me build a chord that would say, well, I know it has a minor third in it, and I also can then, if I know the other interval of the 7, 9, 11, and 13 that's different than it's related, in this case minor scale, then I can build more complex chords from it. So that's kind of what we would like to do, right? I'd like to be able to know the shape and then consciously using intervals know what kind of chords I can build. Is it going to have a minor third or a major third? And then beyond that, getting more complex, what's the 7, 9, 11, and 13, which will not be dependent solely on whether it's major or minor, but will be dependent in essence on what mode that we're talking about. So that's going to be the idea. Now the Locrian mode, notice that the Locrian mode is always going to be there. So if you look at it from a chord construction, if I'm playing in the key of C major or any of the other modes, then notice once I get to this B note, I'm going to get to this B note and I'm going to be like, what do I do with that? Like I can't even add a power chord because it has a flat fifth, right? That's the problem. So I need to be able to, I want to play that because that's the leading tone to go back home. So it's like I want to use the B. It's not like I just want to eliminate the B, right? So at the very least, I would like to know the intervals so that I can build a chord off of that B note, the one note that a lot of people just kind of leave off. And that's also the leading tone that gets you back home if you're talking about a major scale. Even if you're looking at it, well, in any case, that's going to be the idea. So how do we learn the modes? Remember, the quick overview of this is we're going to say, we'll look at the major scales first, which has these intervals. So a perfect first, a 2-note away major second, a 4-note away major third, a 5-note away perfect fourth, a 7-note away perfect fifth, a 9-note away major sixth, an 11-note away major seven. And then we can compare that to the opposite of the major, which you would think would be the main minor, the minor scale, otherwise known as the sixth mode, the Aeolian. And you would think that the intervals would just be taking all the majors and making them, flattening them to a minor. And that is true, meaning except for the second. So in other words, the minor scale, Aeolian, is going to still have a perfect first, a perfect fourth, and fifth. And all of the minors, the fourth, the third, the sixth, and the seven will be flattened, making them minor, but it'll still have that 2-note away minor second. So then there's one, and once we learn that, we can compare the major modes to the major modes and the minors to the minor, and there will only be one interval difference. So that means the Lydian and Mixolydian will have the same exact intervals as compared to their tonics as the Ionian. They're just going to have one interval difference, the Ionian being the major scale. The Dorian and the Phrygian will only have one interval difference than the Aeolian. So we can do that. But then what about the Locrian? We just ignored it completely. Well, so the Locrian, you can think of it almost as though you can compare it to the Phrygian mode, right? That's because it has one interval difference from the Phrygian mode, and the crazy interval is the flat fifth. So it's kind of like the way I would memorize the Locrian intervals is to say, well, it's kind of like a minor mode, but when you have the minor mode, the Phrygian is even more minor than the minor mode in my thinking. Why? Because it has a 2-note away, it has a 1-note away minor second. So it does what you would expect the minor mode to do, meaning it flattens all the majors to a minor, and then it still has the perfect fourth and fifth and first, right? But then the Locrian takes that darker Phrygian, and then does something even crazier that no mode does. No mode does this because it's a crazy move, man. Modes don't do that thing, and that means it flattens the five. This one, it flattens the five. So it's a 6-note away flat fifth, which is that really tensiony kind of sound, which is quite useful because music typically means you want to build tension and then release the tension. So you can't get much more tension than that, right? Than the flat five. So you want to kind of, I would think it's useful to play with it, otherwise, because that's going to give you some variance to get building tension. So we want to be able to build that. So it's going to be basically, I would think of it as like a minor scale. It's got a minor third, therefore I would define it as kind of like a minor scale, but it's more minor than the main minor because it has a flat second, which is like the Phrygian. So it's like the darkest Phrygian. Plus, it actually distorts one of the perfects, the perfect fifth, which most of the modes don't do. Although, again, the Lydian does it, but it actually augments the fourth, which is the same interval. But on the Locrian, we flat the five. So it's got the crazy flat five. All right. So that's what makes it crazy, man. That's why people don't even want to say its name. They're like, if we say its name, it's going to threaten to come to our house and terrorize us. It's like, whatever, dude. I'll not be intimidated like this. I will talk about the Locrian by name, and we'll break it down. I've seen Voldemort. He's more feeble than Joe Biden. I'm not scared of him. Here we go. All right, so anyways, we're on the third now. So this is the defining characteristics, usually of a major or minor mode. But again, most people don't really call the Locrian a minor, even though it has a minor third. So I would say technically it's kind of like a minor mode. But again, people call it the the Locrian, right? So, but I would still say it's like a minor mode because it's got a minor third in my thinking. Again, I'm not a scholar in in music, so I'm kind of like, you got to take this stuff with a little bit of a grain of salt here. But I do think I'm trying to orientate the worksheet well, and I'm trying to figure it out myself. So, but I would call it a minor mode personally. All right, so we're going to be orientating around this B over here, and we're just going to be basically looking at the minor third interval from it. So remember that this 3 represents that it's the third note in the scale. This 3 represents that it's a 3-note distance in terms of half steps or notes. And that's going to be the idea from a chord construction standpoint. It's an odd number, and that's how we build chords. We pick up every other odd number, so it's also the third from a chord construction standpoint. So notice this is kind of interesting. The Dorian has this, let's just go through the intervals real quick. It's got a 0 note away perfect first, a 1 note away minor second. That's the one that's like the Phrygian, but it's unlike both the major scale and the Aeolian or main minor scale. It's got a minor third, which is what we would expect from a minor scale, whereas the major scale has a 4 note away major third. It's got the perfect fourth, which is what we would expect from most modes, major and minor. And then this is the weird one. It's got the fifth, which is a 6 note away flat fifth or diminished fifth. That's what the D stands for. So that's the weird one that no other mode has, except for you could say the Lydian has a augmented fourth, which is the same interval, but it's the fourth that's been pushed up instead of the fifth that's been brought down. And then it's got the 8 note away minor 6, which is what you would expect from a minor mode. The major mode would have a 9 note away major 6. It's got a 10 note away minor 7, which is what you would expect from a minor mode. The major mode having an 11 note away major 7. So it's kind of interesting that it has the minor third in it for the Locrian, but then it doesn't have the fifth. So that means, like, one way you could kind of play with the Locrian, you would think, if you don't want that really super tension sound, but you want to play something off the B, instead of playing the power chord of adding the fifth, like you can do to every other note except this one, you can add just the one note, which is the minor third, you would think, right? Because I can add the minor third and not the flat fifth, and then it would be kind of like a minor chord without the fifth, you know. And so, I mean, you can kind of play with that concept. But in any case, that's the idea. So that's what we're doing here. So if I go up then to here, we're going from here to here. It's going to be 3 notes up. So there we have that. And so on the same string, if I go above the string, we're looking for the thirds. So if I go above the string, we're going to be back here. If I count that out, so now I'm going above the string. I'm looking for a 3 note away minor third. Notice that this interval we've seen before on the minor chords, but we haven't seen it from this string. And this string has now revealed a whole nother string up top, right? So we're gonna have a different interval that we haven't seen before, at least on that string, even though we've seen the minor third on the minor modes, which includes the Aeolian mode, the Dorian mode, and the Phrygian mode. Okay, so if I go up one string, I have to look for the inverse distance. So a 3 note away minor third, 3 minus 12 is 9. So I'm looking for a distance of 9, which would be a 9 note away major 6. So I'd be -5, -6, 7, 8, 9. So there it is. So if I'm here, I'm going to go -5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from top to bottom, from D to B, would be a 9 note away. That would be a major 6. And therefore, from the B up to the D would be a 3 note away minor third. Okay, so that means that if I go up one string, the 3 note away minor third will always be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the B string. So let's say I go up here on the B string. Now, because this tectonic plate shifted forward, it's a longer distance. So that means that if I go up one string, the 3 note away minor third will always be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the B string, which means that if I go up one string and cross the fault line, the 3 note away minor third will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back. Okay, and then you can also think about going forward, right? If I went forward, it would be the inverse distance, but that would be just out of reach. Because remember, I'm not looking on both sides. You could, but I'm trying to find the reachable distance, right? On each side. And that means you won't always have the reachable distance if you're stuck with over here somewhere and you hit the nut and you can only go one way going forward. But that's the idea. Okay, let's go up 2 strings. Let's go up 2 strings. We're looking for the 3 note away minor third. So, and if I go up above the note that I'm looking at, I have to take the inverse distance. So 12 minus 3 is 9. So we're going to be saying this is negative 5, negative 10, and then going this way would be 9. So let's do it from here, from this B, negative 5, negative 10, and then going this way would be 9. So if I go from top to bottom, that would be like a 9 note away major 6. If I go from bottom to top, therefore that would be a 3 note away minor third. Okay, so there is that. So that means that if I go up 2 strings, the 3 note away minor third will always be 1 fret forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings. So if I was on one of the bottom 2 strings, like this one, and I go up 2 strings, then I would be here. So the rule would be if I go up 2 strings, the 3 note away minor third will be 1 fret forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B or the E, in which case if I go up 2 strings, the 3 note away minor third will be on the same fret. All right. And then let's go to the next one. So this is the new one we haven't seen before, and it happens to be the big one that's kind of out of reach. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So that means that if I had room going this way, it would be 6 this way. It would be a symmetrical triangle, or what do they call that? Equal sides, equilateral triangle, or something like that. I forgot my geometry. It's been a while, but. I kind of liked geometry, actually. I was good at that. It's when it's above geometry, then everything fell apart. That was all over. It's all over. But anyway, so let's go. This is going to be negative 5, negative 10, negative 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. And then 3, 2, 1, 0. We're now down. We're back to the octave, which I can go to 12 as well. So 12, 11, 10, 9. So if I'm on this one, we're going to say, here it is on the guitar, 5, 5, negative 10, negative 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, 2, 1, 0. There's the octave. And then wait a sec. Octave. And then 12, 11, 10, 9. There it is. Whew, that was difficult. So if I can't reach it because it's 5 frets, what is it, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frets forward. So it's just out of reach, but there it is. If so, that means if I go up, so if I went from the top to bottom, this D to this B, it would be a 9 note away major 6. If I went from the bottom, from this B to this D, it would be a 3 note away minor third, right? So if I go up then 3 strings, then that's where the big jump is for the minor third. Then the minor third would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frets forward, which means it would also be 6 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on either the B or the E string. So let's take a look at one of those. If I was on like this B string and I go up 3 strings, 1, 2, 3, then it's going to be here. It's a little bit tighter that way. So it's about reachable, almost reachable if I'm on one of these bottom strings. So the rule is if I go up 3 strings, The 3-note away minor third is going to be way out there, 6-note away, 6 frets forward or 6 frets back. But if I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B or the E string, and then I go up 3 strings, the 3-note away minor third is at about almost a reachable only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward. Okay. Let's go below the note here. So now we're going to cross the fault line going down. This is the only one, this is the only string, the G string, in which I would go down 1 string and cross the fault line. Because on all other strings, I wouldn't be crossing the fault line if I only go down 1 string. So let's take a look at that. So if I go down 1 string and cross the fault line, it's going to be this way. It would be -5, -4, -3. So I don't need to look at the inverse distance now. -5 because of the fault line goes this way. -5, 4, 3. Let's take a look at it here. So we're going to go down to here, -5, 4, 3. So boom, boom. There's the 3-note away minor third. It looks like a major third shape, right? Because this tectonic plate shifted to the right. Now, on any other string, you're not going to cross the fault line if you go down only 1 string, right? If I was here, then the minor third would be back here. And even if I was on this tectonic plate, then as long as I'm on the same plate, it's only when I cross over the fault line that I'm going to have a problem. And notice that this plate only has two strings on it, so that means I can only go down 1 string and not cross the fault line unless I imagine myself going around the top of the guitar, which you can do. Just remember that this string repeats. So if I imagine myself going around the top of the guitar, I have to see that this D is repeating right there and then start the pattern over again. Okay, so that means that the rule would be if I go down 1 string, the 3-note away minor third is always 2 frets back, as opposed to 1 fret back, which would be normally what a 4-note away major third would be, unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the G string, in which case if I go down 1 string and cross the fault line, the 3-note away minor third is only going to be 1 fret back, which makes it look like it's a major third, but no, because of the fault line. Okay, so let's pull that down, and then we'll go to the last one in our process here. So this is the long distance one again, similarly to what we saw up top. So if we go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, it's going to be 3-note away minor third, 5, 10, 11, 12. That's back to 0, and then 1, 2, 3. So let's count it this way. It's going to be 5, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. Boom. So it's way up there. So that's going to be, what is that, 6 frets? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's the big one. So 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 3-note away minor third will be 6 frets forward. Now, the interesting thing is, well, let's measure it up here. If I was up on this one, and then I'm going to go to here, it's actually a shorter distance because this tectonic plate shifted this D up. So the general rule would be, if I go down 2 strings, the 3-note away minor third will only be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward, unless I cross the fault line. That's about reachable, unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on either the D or the G string, in which case, if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 3-note away minor third will be just barely reachable at the 6 frets forward. Okay, that's the general idea. Let's tell a quick joke, and then we'll continue on to the perfect fourth. So quick joke here. Let's see. I'm gonna just to break things up. Okay. Have you ever noticed the common phrase "F off," or you can call it like "hump off"? it doesn't really make any sense. People are like, hump off, man, hump off. And it's like, and you kind of hear people saying it when they're being bothered or something. And I mean, if you imagine like a dog was bothering you, let's say, for example, a dog is bothering you, and you told the dog to hump off, dog, hump off. And it's got to be thinking, as it gives you that confused, dog head tilt and going, arr, it's like, what do you want for me to hump your leg until it falls off? Like, what does that even mean, hump off? It doesn't even make any sense. I mean, I would think, for example, if a dog was humping somebody's leg, like you can't be, the dog can't like be humping something and be off the thing, right? It can't it's confusing. It's confused. Like, I would think, for example, if a dog was humping somebody's leg, the better response would be, rather than hump off, it should be stop humping, colon. By colon, I mean the punctuation colon with the two dots, the long pause. And so it would be stop humping, colon, off, right? That would be how you command the dog. Stop humping, colon, off, right? And then the language is much more clear that way, making it easier to judge whether there's compliance with the demand, Otherwise, the dog will just act like the modern deconstructive progressive people out there and just claim they had no idea what you were talking about. They're going to pull some legalese on you and be like, I will hump off. No, you got to be clear. You got to have some actionable terminology these days, man, with these crazy people. All right, let's move on now to the fourth. So we're on a 5-note away perfect fourth, not to be confused with the fifth here, even though it's 5 notes away. And the fifth is the funny one. That's where we have a 6-note away fifth rather than a 5-note away fifth. You call it a flat fifth, a diminished fifth. But we're going to be on the fourth now. So the fourth is the normal one, which is the perfect that you would expect from all of the modes. Still have a perfect fourth, except I believe the Lydian mode. So we've seen it before, but we want to keep practicing it because that's one of the safe ones. That's like as safe as the perfect fifth. It's as safe as like a power chord. It's just less popular because it's not part of a normal chord construction, because it's an even interval. It's an even note in the chord, and we usually build our chords by skipping every other note. Therefore, if we were to skip every other note, we go 1, the 3, the 5, then the 7. That's the last note in a scale typically. And then the 9 represents the 2 that we skipped. But we don't like saying 2 because we don't like even numbers when we build chords. We're like even number phobes. We're like, dude, no, it's a 9, okay? It's a 2. No, it's a 9. I don't associate with 2s. I only deal with odd people. Odd people are interesting. That's so, dude, it's a 2. 2s are boring. Then the 11 is the 4. So that's what we're on now. We're on the 4. It's an 11. 11, a 4 is a boring even person. I like odd people because they're weird. But it's actually a 4. No, it's an 11. That's why I associate with that person, because he's odd. Okay. In any case, let's say we're going to go up 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going up 5 notes here. So if I'm on this B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. All right. So that's a 5-note away perfect fourth. Okay. Let's say we go up a string. If I go up above the B, then I have to look for the inverse distance. So a 5-note away perfect fourth or a 5-note away perfect 11th has an inverse distance of 12 minus 5, which is 7. So this is going to be -5. Let's find it first. It's right, -5, 6, 7. I usually do it this way. -5, 6, 7. Okay, let's count it out here. And so we're on -5, 6, 7. So that's like our normal power chord, right? -5, 6, 7. So if I went from E to B, then it would be a 5-note away perfect fourth from the perspective of the E. But if I go from B to E, bottom to top, that is going to be if I went from E to B, it would be a 7-note away perfect fifth. But if I went from bottom to top, from B to E, it's a 5-note away perfect fourth. Okay. So that means that if I go up one string, the 5-note away perfect fourth will always be 2 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the B string. So if I was on the B string over here, it's going to be a longer distance because this tectonic plate shifted the root note forward. So the rule is if I go up one string, then the 5-note away perfect fourth, otherwise can be called the 11-note away, the 5-note away perfect 11th, is 2 frets back. Unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the B string, in which case, if I go up one string and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth, which could also be called the 5-note away perfect 11th, is 3 frets back. All right then, let's go up. That's precise language right there. See if the deconstructionist legalese people can try to make a lie out of that formation of the argument. Sons are gonna start changing definitions on me. I know how they're gonna be working, but that's okay. I'll just make it more clear. I'll make it more clear. Let's go up 2 strings, and we're looking for the 5-note away perfect fourth going up 2 strings. So the inverse distance is 12 minus 5, which is 7. So it's going to be -5, -10, 9, 8, 7. So let's do it from here. So -5, -10, and then we're going to say -5, -10, and then 9, 8, 7. All right, so if I go from top to bottom, from this E to that B, that would be a 7-note away perfect fifth. But if I go from the B bottom to the E, that then is going to be a 5-note away perfect fourth. And so that means that the 5-note away, so if I go up 2 strings, the 5-note away perfect fourth will always be 3 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on either of the bottom 2 strings. So if I'm on one of the bottom 2 strings, then I go up 2 strings. It's going to be a tighter distance because, again, this root note has been pushed forward. So the rule is if I go up 2 strings, the 5-note away perfect fourth, which could also be called the 5-note away perfect 11th, is 3 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B and the E string, in which case, if I go up 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth, which could also be called the 5-note away perfect 11th, is only 2 frets forward. So let's do, what if I go up 3 strings? We haven't seen this distance before with the perfect fourth because we have revealed another string up top as we have moved down, measuring from the G string. So let's go up to this one. This is going to be new stuff here. This is exciting. I'm going to go up to this one and say we're looking for a 5-note away perfect fourth or 5-note away perfect 11th. Have to look for the inverse distance. 12 minus 5 is 7. So it's going to be -5, -10, -9, 9, -9. Wait a second. Que paso here. Que paso. It's not 9, it's 15. Counting 5s. 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So let's count it out this way. So -5, -10, -15. 15 minus 12 is 3 because there's only 12 notes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open E. So if I was on this B, I would be on the open E out here. So top to bottom, would be a 7 note away, which would be a perfect 5th. Bottom to top, therefore, would be a 5 note away, perfect 4th. So that means if I go up 3 strings, then the 5 note away, perfect 4th, which could also be called the 11 note away, which could also be called the 5 note away, perfect 11th, is 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back, unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings again. So if I cross the fault line, let's go down here, and we're going to say then, and if I go up 3 strings, boop, boop, boom, and then I'm going to go back to here. So now this has been shifted forward, making a longer distance because now we're leaning backwards and the root has been pushed forward. So the rule would be that if I go up 3 strings, the 5 note away perfect 4th or 5 note away perfect 11th is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B and the E string, in which case if I go up 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 5 note away perfect 4th, which could also be called the 5 note away perfect 11th, is only 3 frets back. All right, let's go down a string now. Let's go down a string and say we're going to go down to here. So if we go down 1 string, we're going to cross the fault line because we're on the G string, which is the only string where I could go down 1 string and cross the fault line. That's where the crack is at. We crossed over the crack on that step. That's the step that crosses the crack. Don't step on the crack, or else you're going to get the sound will be you get that muted sound. That's not what you want to do. You want to step clean across the crack. One leg on one side of the crack, the other is on the other side. Okay, so if we do that and we go down 1 string, then the 5 note away perfect 4th, now we don't have to look for the inverse distance because we're going below it. It's just right there because it's diagonal because of the fault line, because of the shift, because of the tectonic plate movement. So it's just going to look like that. So that means if I go down 1 string and cross the fault line, the 5 note away perfect 4th is going to be 1 fret forward. But that's the only place, the G string, where I cross the fault line. Even if I was down here, then I wouldn't cross the fault line because I would be on the same tectonic plate. It's a small plate. It's like a little island plate onto itself. But if I just stay on that plate, then I don't cross the fault line. And it's just like if I was on the mainland up here. Just like if I was on the mainland and I go up down 1. It's only when you cross over the plate that it gets funky. So the rule is that if I go down 1 string, the 5 note away perfect 4th, which you could also call the 5 note away perfect 11th, is on the same fret unless you cross the fault line, which only happens on the G string, in which case if I go down 1 string and cross the fault line, the 5 note away perfect 4th, which could also be called the 5 note away perfect 11th, is 1 fret forward in that one circumstance. So now let's say that we go down 2 strings and then it's going to be back here. So now we go down 2 strings and cross the fault line. So fault line cross, 5 diagonal, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So 5 note away perfect 4th, 5 note away perfect 11th. Let's count it here. 5, 10, and then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So it goes from here to the open E. So that means if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 5 note away perfect 4th is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back. But I don't have to. I wouldn't cross the fault line if I was on any of the top 2 strings, because then I could still go down 2 strings and not cross the fault line because I'd be on the same tectonic plate. So what if if I was up here, and then I went down 2 strings, it would be out here. So it's a longer distance because the fact that the one that I'm going to this time, here's the root, the one I'm going to got pushed up by the tectonic plate. But up here it didn't get pushed up, so it's a further distance. So the rule is if I go down 2 strings, the 5 note away perfect 4th, which could also be called the 5 note away perfect 11th, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back, which is about as far as we can reach with a normal hand size, unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on either the D or the G string, in which case if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, The 5-note away perfect 4th, which could also be called the 5-note away perfect 11th, will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back. That's how it goes. All right, so we'll move on to the next one next time, which is the funny one. That's the one you want to come back and see that one, because that's the weird one, the flat 5. Let's finish it off with a stupid joke here. All right. Have you ever heard the phrase dead serious? Like, people say it when they're trying to say, like, I'm really serious. It's like, I'm dead serious. And you know people are lying when they say that, when they say, like, they're dead serious. Because it's like, are you serious? They're like, I'm dead serious. And it's like, whatever. That's not serious at all, because dead people are not serious, right? They don't care about nothing. They're dead. Dead people don't care about stuff. Just look at Joe Biden. Does that guy look like he's serious about anything? What are people around the world? They're going to be like, oh no, if I don't do something, it's going to make the dead person mad or something like that. They don't care. They know the dead person don't care about nothing. I mean, that's a silly phrase. If you're serious, you should be serious like a living person, like someone who's cognizant. I'm serious like a cognizant person that understands, like, consequences and things, you know? That's what we need.